Morning, everyone. I'm Vasanth, Technical Architect. Topic we are going to discuss today. I'm not going to present it. We are going to discuss it. It's what I think I'm going to do. Yeah, I hope you're able to see my screen, actually, see my presentation. So, Micro Frontends. The name itself will be a little bit, maybe a bit scary to everyone. The term Micro Frontend itself might seem a bit scary to even the front-end developers. But I assure you, when at the end of the session, you won't find anything scary about this particular new concept, this term Micro Frontends. So, what is this Micro Frontend? Let's go further. To Micro Frontend, we should know what is front-end actually. I mean, there are many non-technical people as well here. So, I will just give a short intro about what is a front-end. Front-end is a term related to software architecture. Actually, the more used non-technical term to this will be the UI, applications UI, user interface, or the application is called front end in a software architecture. So corresponds to whatever the user interacts with in the application, like a button click or the data that they are viewing, tables, the graphs, chart, anything that they see on the front end and interact with, use in the application visually or refer to as front end in software application or in terms of software architecture. There are various software architecture. When you consider software architecture, there are various software architecture that are in practice actually. Can anyone name some architectures that you have worked that you are familiar of? So in my screen, you can see the various architectures that we generally use actually. The first one is the monolith. The name monolith itself indicates that everything present in as a single application. Maybe for many people, when you use an application, feels as a single application, but there are many aspects to a software application that's going in the background actually. So a monolith actually indicates that all the front end, back end database are present in the single server or a single code base or running from a single machine actually. This monolith software architecture has been almost outdated. It's not in practice anymore. I mean, at least 99% of the application have moved out of this monolith architectures. So anything that's running in monolith architecture is actually it's like a tape recorder right now. It's going to be very difficult to manage it if there is any problem. So after the monolith, then came the front end and back end popular architecture, which was very prevalent some like a decade back. So there will be a front end team and there will be a back end team. The front end code will be separate, the back end code will be separate. Both will have separate servers actually. So this is a general front end back end architecture. This was prevalent some like a decade back. Then came the microservices, which is very popular right now. I mean, most of the applications, we can say almost all the applications are running right now in microservices. So what is this microservices? Anyone can explain what is a microservice, or anyone have worked in a microservice architecture in their development career? So microservices is nothing but a group of services or a set of services that intercommunicate with each other to provide a particular set of use to the application actually. So if you can see the third image in the slide that's under the microservices, there will be multiple components in the backend architecture. What this corresponds is, as the application, as the usage of a software, or generally since world moved on to digitalization of everything, the usage of software applications became more and more. There were more and more users, and a single backend application found it difficult to handle all those user load and management everything. So what the software development guys decided is, why not have multiple services to handle different functionalities. Say for example, if there is a e-commerce website, there will be a separate services to handle the authentication alone, users and authentication alone, and there will be separate services to handle the payments. There will be more services to handle like product pages, and maybe they can even handle the checkout functionality using a separate service. But by using this, the load on the server will be get reduced drastically. Like on the front, there will be only one front end application which will interact with multiple backend services that will help manage the load on the server. So imagine like 1 lakh requests per minute going to a single backend server, and when we split, and this is in a traditional architecture, and when we split that into 4 or 5 components, we'll have only 25,000 requests being received by a server, or maybe a particular amount of time. Imagine the efficiency of this architecture, because we have split the functionalities as per the requirement, as per the load as well actually. This has made efficiency, this has helped in improving the efficiency of the applications, software applications, in a great manner, and this also aids in managing the application from the developer point of view, very frugal and easier. So even when upgrading a particular service, this will be very helpful as a particular if there is a upgrade into particular module. Say for example, we are changing the way so for the login has been user email and password, and we need to move on to OTP based authentication. We need to only upgrade the authentication service, and that will alone will upgrade the entire application to OTP based authentication. So no other application will have implications because of this, and maintaining this kind of architecture very help in every way possible actually.
Yeah,
So
Vasanth, I just like to add something to what you said.
okay.
Okay. So I think Vasanth mentioned that it is moved from monolith to front to back and to microservices at this point of time. Technically, yes, it has changed in terms of moving from a monolith architecture front to back and to microservices. But typically, if you take a product, okay, most of the products will go through this life cycle. Okay, some products from the start, for example, let's say a Hotstar, where that there are going to be millions of users who are going to log into the system and work simultaneously. They will decide in the beginning itself that they want to do this particular product in a microservices architecture. For example, there is another product. Let's say at this point, the business owner or person who's building that software thinks that it's going to only probably have 100 users and he just wants to build an MVP. Okay, he might start with a monolith. Later, they can change it to maybe front to back, and from front to back to microservices. So this also depends on the business decision, and the cost that they can spend on building a software. Okay, so it's a technique. You will still find some very large applications. Shopify, for example, is a very large company with lots of users who are a combination of. They started as a monolith, but now they have monolith built on Rails plus microservices for certain extensions. So it could be a combination of these things as well. Apart from these three architectures, it could also be a combination of these. That's what I just wanted.
Thank you, Asif.
Yeah.
But since even though they have more monolith, but they still have some services that are running on running as a microservice, right? But so it will in the end correspond. We can say that it is a microservice, right?
Yeah, probably yes. Yeah.
So everybody would have got an idea what a microservice is right now. So this microservice is actually referring only to the backend. The server part of the application. So what is this? How is this going to relate to frontend? So a frontend can't be a different service. People might be thinking right now that, or until now, that how can a frontend be of a combination of different services? Single frontend application can run as 4 different applications. We are going to see now how we are going to apply this microservice concept to a front-end application. So what is the micro front-end? The micro front-end and microservice terms might have given an idea until right now.
As you said, there are a lot of non-developers also in the call, right? Can you
Yes,
tell, like, even if some applications that we have built or that we use, which could be monolith, which is like front-to-back architecture, like microservices, like Asif now said, Hotstar is definitely in microservices. But
okay,
monolith and front and back, because nowadays most of us when we talk also we say like there is a front end and there is a back end, like even the application,
okay.
like
So for your understanding, the something that we have built as a microservices, or even our Venzo employee portal is a microservice running using the microservice architecture. So we have a front end application built in Vue.js, and the back end is running on Node.js, and we have a separate email server that we use to send only emails. So this is a straightforward example to a microservice architecture. Apart from that, we have also built many applications to our clients using the microservice architecture. Latest step being
from Shorecamp, Revo is a microservices architecture.
yeah, Revo is a microservice architecture.
And Doka also, I think we are building services layer.
Revo, in fact, is a micro front end, also uses micro front end architecture. I'll come back to that later. What is a micro front end? How can a front end be a combination of four or two or more applications, two or more code base, or two or more applications? So idea behind micro front end is to think or imagine a web page or a front end UI into a different components actually. Say, for example, we have a e-commerce page. Let's consider e-commerce as a common example. So we have an e-commerce page. We'll have a product section where the product details will be displayed. Then we'll have a buy items and a shopping cart. We will also have suggestions, additional suggestions based on our search or something. So this is generally a layout of or a general picture of a e-commerce website page. So what we can do is the product section itself can be a separate application. The suggestion section can be a separate application. The checkout and cart, the buy button, and those things can be segregated or framed into a separate application. Each functionality or each module or each component that we separated into a separate application will be handled by a separate team. Actually, that's the main aspect of this micro frontend. So what happens when each component is managed by a separate team? Each team will have can manage their own application on their own tech stack, and it will be easy to build features inside or features or functionalities inside those particular application, micro application.
Okay, I will add one fun fact also. Okay, to this. Okay, I think there is a big. There is a famous person. I'm not sure if you know, David Hannemeyer Hansen. He is the founder of Ruby on Rails. He's like hell bent on saying that the monolith is a better way to build applications, and microservices came into existence because a lot of IT companies have hundreds of people on board. Okay, so they want to give work to everyone. Okay, so they split them into teams of 10 or 5 and give them each a service to work on. Okay, so that is his opinion. But it also comes from the fact that he mainly says that not all applications will scale to a level of Facebook or Twitter or which has millions of users and will benefit from a micro front end or a micro services architecture. So he says, okay, you should also consider monolith depending on the scale of the application that you are building. Okay, so if you can Google about DHH, you will see a lot of things that he writes about this.
So this picture might give a better understanding for everyone. Actually, you are seeing a picture where there is an application, there are some shared components, and in the middle we have three micro applications. First one is built in React, the second one is in Angular, and the third application is built in Vue.js. This is the beauty of this is going to be a beauty of the micro frontend concepts. Actually, each micro app can choose their own tech stack and maintain their code base separately, but still function together in a common application, which acts as a root application or the base application, we can say. So what is the idea?
Hello,
Yes, sir, please.
this is Satish. And I have one doubt. You are saying we can use different stacks for micro frontends.
Yes.
Can we do that in a single page, or these stacks will be used in different pages? Like in
We can use
DigitalOcean, yes or no?
we can use it in single page.
Single page. How it can be done? And I can develop a single page in React. If I'm navigating to another page means, then it can be developed in another step.
Okay.
But how it can be done in the component level?
Okay. See, the individual single micro application should run on its own. Actually, okay. That's the concept here. Even though there is no base application, every single micro application should run on their own. I mean, it should be a meaningful module or component that we decide to develop into a micro application. There is no base application or not, it should run on its own. First thing we should consider when we are going to a micro frontend. So when all these three, when we develop different micro frontends in different stacks, we can finally, it depends on how we integrate them into the base application. We can use either CDN based integration or even at the end of the day, when compiled into browser, everything is plain JavaScript, React or Vue or Angular JS. So everything is going to be plain JavaScript. The integration should also be the talking point when we move into micro frontend. How we are going to integrate should be a deciding factor if we are going to move to the micro frontend.
Okay.
So let me continue. The basic ideas behind moving to micro frontends. We can be technology agnostic, meaning each micro application can choose their own tech stack. As we saw in the earlier picture, the individual application can choose their own tech stack independent of other applications, so that they can upgrade their own tech stack as well, independent of others. Cannot be the same in the micro if it is a monolith frontend, because we upgrade the tech stack in one place, it might not suit the functionality or the features available in the some other module. So we have to very cautious or conscious in choosing the tech stack upgrade actually. So one more very important thing is we can isolate the team code. So every team can have their own code base, and they won't be sharing the runtime actually. Runtime in the sense how they run independently, how the application run independently, even if they are using the same framework or different framework or different tech stack, they won't be sharing the runtime. So each application will run independently, and the code will be very isolated and very simplistic actually. So any problem in the application, we can easily find the root cause of the issue, and it will be easy to fix. It will be easy to fix in the particular application. And while if you are moving to micro frontend, will be having team prefixes, meaning whenever we write a code, there will be the team based prefixes that we use to identify our own code actually. Say if a team product is writing a code, they will write product underscore function one. They'll have prefixes to identify which function belongs to them. There are chances of having the same function name from different teams. One more thing is we need to use as far as possible the native browser APIs, meaning browser events like click action or those basic actions we need to be concentrating on rather than writing a custom APIs for communication between two front-end applications. This we need to consider building a very resilient website, resilient site. I mean, as I said earlier, the components that we segregate or separate to build as a micro front-end application should be a meaningful one. I mean, we can't just take particular area, particular component or particular section, and I'm going to build it as a micro front-end just for the sake of it. It's not helpful at all. Like, it should be a meaningful one, and it should have the reason and ability to run as an individual application. So we have come to example now. If you see the image here, there are some dotted squares we have mentioned. We have a blue color. We have some components circled in blue color dotted lines. That those components correspond to the team checkout. The green color the segments encircled in green color dotted lines belong to team inspire, and the entire page belongs to team product. So it's a small example of a micro application. So what happens here is team checkout, that is the team in blue is responsible for everything regarding the purchasing process. Like when the user clicks the buy button and when it's get added to the shopping cart, this entire process is handled by the checkout. So they will handle the UI for it. They will handle the data and state involving in this checkout process and everything related to it. The team green, the team inspire, this components circled in green color are responsible for bringing out the suggestions based on the user's preference or user's search history. So that particular section is fully taken care by the team inspire. They will be writing, deciding what needs to present inside the what need to be suggested to the user based on their search history and purchase history. The entire application is managed by team product, meaning team product will be deciding which component is placed where. Like this inspire component can be placed at the bottom, or can be placed at the right hand side, can be placed at the left hand side or top. This layout or the where these components need to be placed is decided by the entire product team. Breaking down the app was what I said. The team product decides which functionalities included where, and it questions layout. You might have doubt how this entire routing is handled. The routing itself is placed in the base application. Here we can say it as a product page where the product team itself handles the routing based on the inputs from the other applications. So until now we have seen an example, and also the basics of the micro frontend architecture. Can anyone come up with the advantages or pros and cons of this concept? Actually, just a few points, one line points. Can anyone come up with some points? Volunteers.
It can be like if one service goes down, we can even communicate with the application.
Yeah, right.
Like only that particular service won't work.
Yeah, right. Correct.
We can update the application or upgrade the application in a very sort of atomic way. Only a particular component can be updated.
Yes, sir. So what they said is what I have also listed as a pros. Independent deployment. Like we can deploy a particular one microservice alone, micro frontend alone independently, and other application not getting affected by any means. Scalability. Imagine only particular section of an application is we have more number of load or user visits. We can just scale that application alone, or even the entire application is having a large user fall. We will be able to upgrade or scale the application easily, given we have different small micro front-end applications. Technology freedom we discussed earlier. The team will be individual teams will be we have complete freedom to choose their own technology for their application. Fault isolation. The issues can be isolated easily and cornered out where it's happening particularly, and it will be easy to handle those issues. And this because of this, the other application will not get affected as other section of the application will not get affected. Of course, there will be performance advantage where individual, since they don't share the runtime, all the application will be run independent, and this will help to the performance much better. And the negatives can be like increased complexity, in the sense increased complexity corresponds to, can I say this, it will be difficult to handle the communication between these micro frontends, especially when there is a need, there is a necessity to interact with each other for data or any other operations. Managing this communication between these micro frontends is a bit complex, but not something impossible. I mean, might seem complex at the very view of it, but when we get on with it, it will get much easier as we get used to it. Performance overhead, yeah, performance in the sense I said there is advantage of performance. There is performance is an advantage as well, but it's coming in the negatives as well, because again, the different application communicating with each other using some browser APIs will have some performance overhead. Apart from that, also having different application running in more than one application running in a browser might lead to performance overhead. Duplication of code, obviously, if you're having a different code bases for a single front-end application, we'll have to share the functionality, which might lead to having some duplicate code for the same functionality. For example, we have a search function in say product application A and application B. Both application can write the search functionality in their own code base, leading to duplication of code. Common practice, general good practice is to identify these common functionalities and write those in a common place, either in the base application or having it written in one application, sharing the functionality between the applications. Team coordination. Okay, having this team coordination between two different micro front-end applications might lead to some misunderstandings in implementation of functionalities, or understanding the each application itself is a bit cumbersome task actually. I mean, one application, one team can be in India and another team can be in some other part of the world, and understanding the requirement for both teams will be difficult. That's what here team coordination comes into place. And more very important issue here is maintenance of the code in different application. Maintaining a code base in single front-end application is very easy, whereas having multiple code bases for different application, it will be a very difficult maintenance in the sense in terms of code standard, code quality, and the standard practice that we implement in all that we looking to implement is need to be maintained in all repositories or all code bases. So that's a very difficult task, even though it's not impossible.
I have a question, Vasanth,
Yes, sir.
to everyone, including you. Okay.
Mm.
Previous cons. In the previous slide, the cons.
Okay.
There's one major con that is missed in this.
Okay.
Can anyone tell me what that major con is? It's bloody expensive. Yeah, it's expensive because all of this, increased complexity. You need more team members. You need probably different deployments, separate testing for all those things. It will be very expensive to manage. Okay, unless the application itself is definitely benefits from that architecture, then you can spend. Otherwise, it's not really.
Yes. So what are my thoughts actually on micro frontends? Should we use micro frontends for all the applications that starting from today, or is micro frontends going to be the next big thing in the market? My opinion is like micro frontends are amazing concept to bring into an application, but just for the sake of it, or just because it's a trend right now, it is not right to bring a micro frontend concept into an application. We need to consider micro frontends only if there is absolute need for the application to move to that architecture. Unless there is no, it is better to have it in a single code, have it as a single monolith front-end application. So using a large application where there is scope to isolate modules or features into separate application will largely aid the engineering actually. You may understand with a better example. Say, consider our Venzo self-service portal result. There is not much need to build it in a micro front-end architecture because the usage is very minimal and can be manageable using a simple front-end application. Whereas if you consider a big e-commerce giant applications like Flipkart or Amazon, definitely scope for a micro front-end application. And who knows, Amazon has already moved to a micro front-end long back, like 4 or 5 years back. When I was speaking to a person from Amazon, he said each part in the Amazon, each page in the Amazon the C is built by different teams, and even the product review page itself entirely separate microservice, micro front-end actually. That might feel that this, even though we are feeling it as a single application, under the hood there are very multiple applications running to bring together that feel to the users. Thank you.